We are back here to talk about the achievement of the week slash month for retro achievements. Now you'll notice that I didn't actually do two of them, and that'll probably increase, and maybe I'll come back and fix it like I should have did with Donkey Kong. But ignoring that, I just didn't have time, and I will talk about actually one of the main ones of why I didn't do it specifically, and why I think it's actually one of the worst achievements on this list. But we have plenty to go through. This is, of course, the old ranking, and I don't think I need to change anything. Not yet. I feel like some of these are going to go up and down eventually as I feel a little better. Like, technically, this maybe is a little too high. But ignoring that, it's not too bad of an experience. I do think Achievement of the Week is kind of annoying at times, but overall, it's not a bad experience so far. I think we're just going to jump right into it. So technically, the last achievement of the week before April will start, this is April, would have been the We Love Katamari achievement, which is Create Pluto, which I put at the top of B, and technically an argument should have been A, because I do love We Love Katamari, but it's not a incredibly unique achievement that kind of hooks you into the game. It's very basic, and also there's some RNG elements, so there's the reasons for that. And we kind of have a pretty lackluster roster. I hate to be the guy that says that, but we have defeat all Knights rivals from Tokyo Extreme Racer Advance on GBA, if you couldn't tell by the advance. We have defeat Ludwig von Koopa in Cookie Mountain on Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2 GBA, if you couldn't tell from the advance. Witch's House from the Flintstones, The Surprise at Dinosaur Peak for NES. We have Dogs of War from Final Fantasy VIII, which is to complete your seat exam. I'll go into a little bit of a problem I have with this one in general and why I didn't finish it, besides stuff going on at the time. And then we have the Metal Gear Solid 2 achievement, which I don't have it pulled up because I just have the weeks. But yeah, this one is eavesdrop on Olga, I believe. I don't remember what location. I think it's Shell 2 Core, I believe. But yeah, we're going to talk about it, and let's quickly get into it because I don't want to be here for that long. Let's talk about the two GBA games right away. We have, of course, Tokyo Extreme Racer Advance. I'm going to be brutally honest. I think this achievement set was actually really, really good. It was a little grindy, but it was also pretty fair. I kind of want to put it about right here, but at the same time, it's really unfair to these two. But I think it's a good showcase of the game. I think you could get this done in about an hour, maybe 45 minutes if you were incredibly fast and knew exactly what to do. But it took me about 15 minutes to get, proper thing. And I grinded a little bit of different stuff at the same time. I wanted to play the game. For a GBA game, a racing game, Tokyo Extreme Racer Advance, it's pretty good. It's not gonna, light the house on fire. Good thing for it. It's okay. But I do think it's interesting, and I think the straight up the achievement itself is a good pick. We'll talk about kind of shitty progression in basically the rest of these, but I do think this is a decent pickup for April. I don't think the game is the best I think it's probably the worst game in B tier, besides maybe Chibi Robo, if we're gonna hurt the Chibi Robo fan base. But I do think the achievement itself is really good. Defeating all Knights rivals, I think is really good. This is Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance. This is basically just get through half the game. I think this is probably one of the worst achievements on this list. It's very basic. It's just to give an idea of how kind of uninteresting it is. This is beat the game. 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 This is beat the game with extra steps. This is beat the game. This is halfway. Look at the Mario correlation, by the way. This one at least has a little more restrictions, where technically, if you go as fast as possible, if you want to get the achievement, you kind of punish yourself, so it's better to be a little bit more patient. But this one literally doesn't have that restriction. It's still a good game. Super Mario Advance 2, which is Super Mario World, but at the same time, it took maybe an hour. I literally took like 3 15-minute like breaks from other stuff and got it. It was very boring. If you like Mario, I guess it's okay, but it's just kind of a waste of time to me. There's no interesting game here. Like I had never played Tokyo Extreme Racer Advance, and it was interesting. I'm gonna go back and eventually play it. Everybody has played Mario, so this was not interesting to me at all. I really felt like it didn't teach me anything. It didn't like. It was really stupid. I think this is the what. Just because it's a good game makes me put it in C, but it's almost D with how bad of a concept is for achievement of the week. I think it's one of the worst achievements. Which there's also another one in May we'll talk about, which I think can probably take the cake, but that'll come a little bit later. Next we go into the Witch's House from the Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak. The reason this is only level 7 and not beat the game is because beating the game is actually pretty brutal. The last level is really hard. But I think it's pretty short. The thing with the Flintstones, the game is incredibly like valuable, right? And so it has a bit of a legacy, but I don't think a lot of people have played it. So it's interesting, for lack of a better term. Now, I do think level 7 is probably the perfect little middle ground before the end of the game. It basically covers just it misses 2 levels, which really you think would be like, why not go all the way? The last level is really that brutal for a lot of people. And there's like 2, you basically only have 5 full levels that you're actually playing. There's 2 like mini game-esque levels. So you can quickly go through this in a decent amount of time. And I'm actually going to put this at the bottom of B, because while the Flintstones is never that great of a game, it's very, very overhyped for, you know, how valuable it is, in quotes. It is definitely good design to showcase this game that probably a lot of people have missed out on, while at the same time also enabling what's it called? Enabling a decent way through the game. It's not brutally hard, but yeah, which I think works. And as you'll kind of notice here, it's all downhill. April was not a good month for Achievement of the Week. We have nothing going in A. We only had 2 Bs, and we're going to talk about Final Fantasy VIII. Now, Final Fantasy VIII is not a game I enjoy. Getting that across is always going to be the biggest problem. A lot of people are like, why don't you like Final Fantasy VIII? Because I don't like it. It's bad story. It's bad, like, just mechanics. It's just a bad time. I think 7 and 9 are much better experiences, and 8 is already kind of, it put a bad taste in my mouth anyway. This is also a very bad achievement for Achievement of the Week, because complete your seed exam. If you don't know what that is, it's basically the kind of tutorial that you'll end up going back to several times and kind of see how your character progresses, is how I would word it at certain points. But the seed exam is like an hour in, and in a turn-based RPG, you either want the player to learn how to play, which, by the way, Final Fantasy VIII starts incredibly slow, or you want them to get a taste of just like how slow it is, and maybe I guess that's the point. But this achievement sucks. The only reason I'm putting it here is because I really don't know what they would want for Final Fantasy VIII, but at the same time, just don't pick the damn game. And this is one of the worst achievements. This is one of the best games for the best achievement. So, this Metal Gear Solid 2, and the reason I put this here, and we're going to put it at top D just because it is a great game. Metal Gear Solid is a great series. First, let me get that across. I'm not here to be like, Metal Gear Solid's over here. No, I love Metal Gear Solid. The problem with having this as the achievement of the month is this is the second game. Now, the requirement to have Metal Gear Solid 2 there is already a big problem, because Metal Gear Solid is one of those series where you want, and I mean this literally, you want to play from the beginning. I get it, there's alternate ways of playing it, but this is the worst decision you could have done. The worst. And you should have picked a better achievement um, for like Metal Gear Solid 2, or you should have just not picked Metal Gear Solid, because when it comes to like a lot of these achievement of the week games, a lot of people, it's like, oh, this is like the third game in series. I'm trying to find an example here, like Pokemon, for instance. They're like, okay, I have a month to do that. Let me do that, and they go through and they're like, I want to do Red and Blue first, and they kind of drop it and then go back to Red and Blue, and then they eventually get to this. This one is an extreme case of it, because Metal Gear Solid fans and Metal Gear Solid players that want to get into the series want to start with the first game. They just haven't found the time to start it, and forcing them to try and do the second one is something that I feel is a big problem. This is just overall one of the worst decisions they could have made for Achievement of the Month. I think the entire game shouldn't have not been there. There's like 4 other Metal Gear Solid games that would fit a lot better, and I get some of them have like interesting, like not interesting stories, but like interesting story connections that maybe would have made it a little weird. But there's a bunch of other Metal Gear Solid games. I have no idea why they picked Metal Gear Solid 2 for PS2. I get the story lineup from the proper order. I have played these games before, but for newer players, which this is an event for either newer players to get into newer games or older players to get into games they haven't played, this is a really, really stupid achievement. Seeds of War is also a bad, or Dogs of War, whatever it's called, the seed exam. It's also a bad case of that, which it makes me feel really bad. April was a bad month for Achievement of the Week. There was not a single game where I was like excited to play. Yes, this was interesting, but it was not like an excitement. This is I've played this before. I've played this before. I've played all of these before, besides the first one, and I found myself not wanting to play these two. Like, I was just like, I'll get around to it when I get around to it, which is making me go a little backwards on flickies. We'll have to play catch up at some point. But yeah, Achievement of the Week is still ongoing. At this point, even though it is pretty late into the thing, we're about to finish May, of course. We have one more, or we have 2 more Achievement of the Weeks in May, and then, of course, the Achievement of the Month, which is the Sly Cooper, which we'll talk about in the next video, which I actually don't think is that bad. But you could still get the gold badge, even with missing a bunch of achievements at this point. I think it's 23. You could still get the gold badge, which is pretty impressive because of flickies and all that. So I recommend, if you still want to at least try it out, you get a nice, cool looking Arbok, which I probably will rank the badges themselves at some point and talk about them. But yeah, if you really want to, I do recommend at least checking it out. There's also a bunch of other events that I think are much more worthwhile, but that's down the line and so on and so forth. But overall, I think April was one of the more mixed months. And by mixed, I mean we had 2 Bs, 2 Cs, and 1 D, which is, I think, the same as January, I think it was. Overall, we had a pretty mixed month. Or was it? We had 2 Cs. I'm actually looking. 1 B. We had 2 Bs, and then we had, yeah, okay. So we had 3 Bs. Never mind. 3 Bs and 2 Cs. It was pretty mid as well. Hopefully, next month we get a. We still are waiting on a couple, but hopefully we get a couple A's, because we're due for it, and hopefully we get an S. We're still missing an S, and we're almost halfway through this. Like, kind of insane we haven't gotten an S yet.